Okay, guys, you are able to see my screen? No.
Yes. Yes.
Fine. So what was we covering in the last class? Like we covered call by value, call by function, and we were looking at how we can write function and the return type of the function, isn't it?
Yes.
Any doubts before I start the next set of things that I wanted to cover today?
So one thing. So that for each loop that we were that we are using will be used in array only. Or
Yes, group any object or any variables which contains group of elements, multiple elements.
okay. So
Like
actually, yeah.
arrays and the collection classes like list, set, map, those things.
So actually, I was going to that reversing an element, so I was not able to do that. So that's why I was thinking for that.
Reversing you cannot do through
Yeah. Yeah.
for each loop because for each loop always moves forward direction.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, I will think
So
different. Yeah.
yeah, okay. So we'll start now. So in function we just saw the basic of the function, isn't it? Okay. So what I'll do today, I'll try to create few more example of functions where we will be returning values, fine, from the function. Like we have created return, yeah, we have created. I'll create few more return, sorry, functions today, and then I'll open the functions parameters returning values. Okay, fine. So I'll create a class here. I'll say function returning array. Okay, this class I have created, very basic class. Okay, what we will learn through this class or this example is how can we return and pass array in a function. Now this is very important. Not just array, many a times during Selenium, when you will be using Selenium, you will have to sometimes either pass array to the function as a parameter or return array from the function as the return type, or sometimes list also you may pass, or list also you may return, or let's say map or set. So returning these kind of things, array, list should be you guys should be comfortable with that as well, because this will be used heavily during Selenium during automation. So that's why I wanted to cover this example. So what I'll do, I'll write the thing that I wanted to do first. Write a function to accept an array as argument and print the array elements in that function. This is first thing that I want to do. Second is write a function where you will create an array and return it, and then print the elements of the array returned by above function, returned by function in the main function. Is that clear? Main method or main function? The questions are clear that what I want to achieve through this example. Yes, okay, now let's do the first one first. So first one, what it says is write a function to accept an array elements in that function. What means what I want to do or what I will do here. I will create function, a method. In that method, and I will be passing an array. And whatever I will be passing, I will be printing the elements of the array. Is that clear? Clear, guys? Okay, now, so function will start with public void. Initially, I will keep void. Okay. Like last class also, when I created public only because function has method should be public mostly because these are the things that get exposed to external files. I'll say public void print array. This is my signature, right? Signature of the method. Signature means the definition of the method. I've declared a method here. Now tell me, in order to complete this functionality, do we need something? Is there any prerequisite? Do we need something to get functionality? Tell me. Do we need anything? Parameter. Which kind of parameter? Which kind of parameter? Which kind of parameter? Because I want to make this parameter generic. Sorry, this function method generic. I want to pass any different array and I want to print it. So the parameter should be of type array. Primarily 1D array. I'm not talking about 2D array here. I'm just wanted to pass 1D array to this method. I want to print it. So the parameter should be of array type, 1D array type, int array, basically integer array. What should be my parameter here? How should I write the parameter? Can you guys ping me in the chat? How should I write the parameter here? Like when we pass integer to an array, sorry, a method, like if let's say I want to pass int to this integer value to this array, I will simply write int something a or variable name var, something like this. So if I want to pass an array to this method, I should write something like int array variable name. That's it. Variable name can be anything, a, array, arg, anything. It's fine. But now, see here. The parameter that you have defined here tells that, okay, guys, this method print array, whenever you will be calling this method print array, you will have to pass a parameter, one parameter, whose data type should be an integer array. That's it. I'll repeat it again. With this definition that you have created, with this method signature, it means that whenever we will be calling this print array method anywhere to use it, we'll have to pass one parameter, one argument whose data type should be integer array. Clear? This is clear, right? One more thing I want to tell you. There are two terms that are used. Parameter, one is argument. What is the difference in parameters and in the argument? Can you tell me? Can you tell me the difference between parameter and arguments? Anyone have any idea? I'll tell you. Whatever variable you define here when you are declaring a method, like right now we are creating a method, isn't it? We are creating a new method. We are creating this method. We are declaring this method. While declaring a method, whatever number of variable you define here within these braces, these are known as parameters. Parameter or parameters. Clear? If one variable you are defining here, it means you have defined one parameter. Multiple means parameters. When you call this method, when you will be calling this method, the value that you will be passing there, that is known as argument. So don't get, this is parameter that you have defined. When I will be calling this function, what I will do, I will pass an array that will be known as argument. Okay, my voice is speaking. Voice is fine now? Yes, sometime. Okay. Yeah, it's raining in Bangalore, so the internet is, has some issues the last 2 3 days. Although I have two different broadband connection, both have the same situation. Anyway, so this is my method declared here. Now, next what I want to do is I want to print it. Simple. Now you want to print me this array, whatever array you will be passing. You want me to print that through for each loop or for loop or while loop. Which one you want me to use? Okay, I will repeat about argument. So when you declare a method, okay, whatever variable you define within the braces is known as parameters. And when you call the function, like I will show you, like here you are calling this function double a number by reference. Okay, here the thing that you are passing, this is known as argument. While calling the function, while calling the method, the value that you pass is known as argument. While creating a function, when creating a method, whatever parameter, whatever variable you define is known as parameter. Clear? Okay. Next thing, you want me to use for each loop, for loop, or while loop to print this array? Tell me quickly. For loop, for each or normal for loop? Because you should be comfortable with for each loop. I am telling this again and again. Believe me, guys, for each loop is a great thing to use. You should be comfortable, 100% comfortable. You cannot ignore it. Otherwise, during Selenium or when we will be covering collections, it will be difficult for you. Okay, so make sure that you are using for each as well. So I'll use normal for loop. I'll say for int I is equal to 0, I less than array dot length I plus plus, and simply I'll say array of I. That's it. This will print the loop. Okay, this will print the array. Simple. You can use while loop also. You can use for loop also. Now, what I'll do is I'll call this method in the program.cs because we know that we cannot have more than one main in C#. So I'll create object for this. Oh, sorry, spelling mistake. Okay, now I'll create object of this class. I'll copy the name. Why array? Namespace application. Why application? Function returning array. I'm not able to see here function returning array. No, no, main is not required. Why I'm not able to see? Oh shit. No, actually it was created in another solution. That's why I moved it to C sharp learning now. It wasn't created in another. Okay, now there is no error. Fine. So coming back. So I've created the object. Now here public is not required. That is not required. And then I'll say obj dot print array. This function I want to call, this method I want to call, but I'm getting an error. It's saying that, look, buddy, you are calling this method, but there is no argument given to this current this method. Basically, it says that if you want to use this method, you'll have to pass an integer array. Simple. So I'll create an integer array. This is my array. That's it. Okay, now I'll run this function. Look, the elements are getting printed in the console now. Clear? So now you know how to pass an array. So here you are passing, I'll write it here, array as an argument. Here I'll say you have defined an array as a parameter. Is that clear now? Parameter and arguments. Clear, guys? Yes. Great. This is very simple, but this is sometimes very confusing as well. Okay. Now here I have an assignment for you guys. I'll give the assignment at the end of the session. That's fine. Okay. The second function, second method I will create now. What is the second method I want to do? Just a minute. Okay. So second method that I want to create says that write a function where you will create an array, return it, print the element of the array returned by the function in the main function. That's fine. So I'll create a method here. I'll say public void. Okay. Just do one thing. Try to write this method on your own first. I'll give you 2 minutes. Try to write this method. Write a method where you will be creating 1D array. Let's say 5 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever 5 element you want to keep. Return that array. Just do that one. Just do this first thing. The first line. I'll give you 2-3 minutes. Okay. Just try to do it. Great, guys. So I have some answers here, and you guys are doing it correctly. That's brilliant. So this is very simple. But again, as I've told you, when you are creating the method, now don't worry about the return type initially. Just take care of the return type at the end. When you are done with the writing the code of the method, then only you should be thinking about the return type of that method. So I'll say public void return array. This is my method that I created. Do I need any parameter? No, I don't need any parameter. I don't need any input. I will be providing input to the main or to another functions or another method. So I'll create an array here. I'll say int array. Okay. You can hard code the value. You can take the input. It's up to you, but that's not a big deal. So we can say, let's say my array has 10 elements. Okay. Simple. And I want to return it. So what I'll say is simply I'll say return array. Now I should get error here, but I'm not getting error. Why? I'm not sure. It should be int array because I'm returning some value. I cannot have void here. So I'll say int array as my return type. Clear? Fine. Done. Okay. This is done. Simple. This is how you should return array. I have some version issue. Like I have to update my .NET framework build. That's why I'm getting this error. I'm not getting a compile time error at the time of writing the code. If you can see, there is three dots, right? I'm getting, like I was getting before starting this class, I was getting a message to update my Visual Studio and .NET, but I did not do because it will take time. So once I will update it, it will be fine. Anyway, so I'll just call this method and I will print, but I will print that in the main function. So I have this main function here. I'll simply say obj dot return say obj dot return array. Again, I'm getting error. It does not contain. Why I'm getting this error today? Return array. This array will return me an object of type array. So I'll just keep it here. I'll say array. That's it. Again, I'm getting it. Cannot. Guys, I am getting some issues to myself. Let me restart my Visual Studio. Just give me a minute. I'm not sure why this error is coming. Where is my function that I created? Was it not saved? Okay, let me create it again. Public int array. I'll say return array int array is equal to and I'll return the array. That's it. Expected. Oh, sorry. Then I will call this method here. I'll say now I'm getting the compile time errors properly. I'll say int array is equal to obj dot return array. That's it. Done. Now understand it very carefully before writing this. This is fine. Okay, now here are a few basic things that we should know, that we should understand. Fine. This method is returning something, isn't it? This method is returning an integer array. Is that when you are calling this method, like right now you are calling a method. You're calling method. My question here is, when you are calling a method and that method is returning some value, is it mandatory to store that return value while calling the method? Is that mandatory? No, that's not mandatory. Like here, I'm not like this method is returning me in an integer array, but I'm not storing it somewhere. That's not mandatory. It's optional. Okay, remember one thing. It's optional. When you're calling a method and that method is returning some value, storing it in a variable is not mandatory. It's optional. It's up to the use, up to the requirement. But right now, do I need to store it? Yes, I need to store it because once I have those values written in some variable, I want to print the element of this arrays. So that's why I will assign it to a variable, let's say var. Now tell me what should be the data type of this variable. What should be the data type of this variable? Because whatever value is returned by this return array method, I want to store it in var. What should be the data type?
Array. It should be array.
Array. Now, what should I write in the left side of var? What should I
As
write?
like we declare array.
Exactly. I should just simply write int array. That's it. Int array. That's it. Int array, variable name is var. Variable name can be anything. It's up to you. Make sure you are not using duplicate variable name. Okay. Can I use int here instead of int array? Can I use int here? Why I'm not able to int here? Use. Why I'm not able to use int here? Why I am getting this compile time error? Can you guys tell me? Guys, tell me why I'm getting error here. Because in the right hand side, the value type is different. In the left hand side, the variable type is different. Isn't it? Isn't it? In the
Yes.
right hand side, what type of value we have? I have integer array type value. In the left side, I'm defining a variable of type int. Can I store an array in an int variable? No, that's not possible. So that's why it should be int array. That's it. Simple. And then I will print. So I'll use, let's say for each I can use, I'll use normal for loop. So I'll say for int I is equal to 0, I less than var dot length I plus plus, sorry, and simply I'll say so dot right line var of I. Why we used var? You want to store this value now. The array that is returned by this variable method, you want to store it, then only you will be able to print the elements of the array, isn't it, Sunil?
Yes, so my question is like we can use anything like except where ABC or something.
I have told now this. I have told multiple times. You can use anything.
Yeah,
The variable name can be anything. Does not matter.
okay.
I can use array also here. Okay. Now I'll run this program. So you can see the elements got printed. Acha, it is printing multiple times. Why? Acha, there is one more method that I'm calling, right? That's why it is happening. Run it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Simple. So this is how you can create a method where you can pass array and how you can return array from a method. Okay. So that being said, we'll start with next topic, which is very important. Is very, very important, which is types of variables based on scope in C#. Okay, type of variables in C#, not based on the type of value, but based on scope. Like based on type, we have primitive, non-primitive, user defined, and primitive. Then again, you have byte, short, int, long, and so many other things. Here, I will be talking about type of variables based on scope. So we have three type of variables: local variable, how can we zoom in? How can we increase the font size here? Anyway, I'll look it later. That's fine. Second type of variable is what? Can you tell me? Instance variables, or which is also known as non-static. Third type is static variables, which are also known as class variables. Any other type of variable you know?
Global variable.
Global variable concept is nothing like that. It's basically static variable only. Anything else? Achha. There is one more type of variable which is constant. Fine. Constant variables. There is one more type, read only. Read only variables. So these are the 5 type of variables that we have. We'll go one by one. Okay. Can you tell me among all of these, which type of variable is mostly used in all the programming languages? Mostly which type of variable you will be using?
Local variable.
Local variables. Local variables. Always. In any programming language, does not matter. Local variables are always mostly used. and then non-static or instance variable, and then static. Static we should use rarely, that creates issues sometimes. Although in Selenium it is used widely, people generally widely, blindly they will use static without knowing the effect of that, without knowing the pros and cons of that. Again, static is used, but we should be very uh, alert while using it. Okay, so what is local variable? Very simple. A variable which is defined the within I'll say within, not the, within a block, method, and constructor is known as local variable. Simple. Any variable which is defined within a block, like for loop, while loop, or a method or a constructor, is known as local variable. Simple. Okay. I'll show you the example. I'll create class, new class. I'll say local variable. Okay. Constructor I will not be showing because I have not considered or covered constructor topic. While loops I will be creating constructor. There I'll again will be using local variable inside constructor as well. Right now, avoid that. So local variable is any variable which is created within a block or a method or constructor, not within class. Within class body, if you create, it will become either a static based on the static keyword you have used, or non-static keyword, variable. But let's say I have a function, I have a method, public void print. I have a variable int I whose value is 10. I want to say just print I. This is nothing but a local variable. Local variable. This is a local variable. Why I'm saying this is a local variable? Why? Because this variable I has been created within a method. It's not created within a class body directly. It's created within a method body. It's basically restricted within this block, restricted within this method. So as per the definition, if a variable is created within a method, block, or a constructor, is known as local variable. So this is a local variable. Point number one. Any doubt, please tell me. Any doubt here? No. Okay. Tell me, can I use access modifier here with local variable? Can I use access modifier like public, anything else like that? I'll show you. Okay. If I use public, I will getting error. I'm getting error here. What is the error? Say the name does not exist in the current context. The name right line does not exist in the current. Basically, I'll tell you why I'm getting this error. Why do we use public, private, protected? At a high level, I will tell you, we use public, private, protected as access modifier to define the scope of that particular component, to define the scope of either a variable, to define the scope of a method or a class, either to make the scope available for everyone or to restrict that to a particular class and so on. But the scope of a local variable is always within the block where you have created it. Let me repeat it again. The scope of a local variable is only within the block. Block means the curly braces. The scope of a local variable is only within the block or the curly braces where you have created it. then what is the purpose of using public? Will you be able to access this variable I outside this print method? Will you be able to do that? If I make this variable I public, will you be able to access this I outside this print method? No, because the scope of this variable I is only within this block. Then what is the purpose? What is the benefit of using public? No benefit. So that's why in C sharp, you cannot use any access modifier with a local variable. You cannot. Explicitly, you cannot use access modifier. Okay, let it just write like that. Variable data type, variable name, that's it. Data type, variable name, that's it. No access modifier. Just note it down somewhere. Okay, you cannot use access modifier with a local variable. Point number one. Point number two, if you are creating a local variable, you can use that local variable only if that variable is initialized with some value. Like right now, if I mouse over, it says use of unassigned local variable. I am getting a compile time error here. Use of unassigned local variable I. What the compiler is trying to say, look, buddy, you are trying to access this variable I, but you have not initialized any value to this variable. So this is not possible. I will repeat it again, note it down somewhere. You must initialize the local variable before using it. You must initialize a local variable before using it, before accessing it. Here I am trying to access the local variable I. I am trying to use this local variable I without initializing, which is not possible. Okay, this happens in Java as well. So make sure that when you are using a local variable, when you are accessing a local variable, you must have initialized it. So I will initialize it. This is clear. Okay, this was point number two. Now I'll do one more thing. Let's say I have a if. Just don't work, don't worry about the logic, what I'm trying to write here. It's just a dummy code. I want to show you something. If I say if I is equal to 10, I will create one more variable inside this. If I'll say int j is equal to 20. Okay. J. Is this possible? Right now, this code is commented. But my question is, will I be able to access this variable j here? Will I be able to access it? No, yes. What will happen? If I remove this comment, will I get any error? Yes, okay. I'll remove this comment. Again, I'm getting an error. Just see the error. What is the error I'm getting? The name J does not exist in the current context. Compiler is saying, look, buddy, there is no J available. What is this J? I cannot see it. I cannot access it. It's not available here in this context. Why I am not able to access J here in line number 4? Although this is a local variable which is created within this method, then why I am not able to access it here? Because local variable scope is within the block or the curly braces where you have defined it. That's it. Thumb rule. Okay, most of the trainer available on YouTube, Udemy, they will say, okay, local variable you can use within the method. No, that's not a correct definition. It's not the correct criteria. The definition, the scope of any local variable is only within the curly braces where you have created it. This j is created within this curly braces, which means the scope of this variable j is only within this if block. That's it. Clear? Clear, guys? Great. So this is an example of local variable. Now I'll create an example of
So for
different class now.
sorry to interrupt. So for local variable, we have to like the
Say
definition.
static versus instance variable.
Hello, am I audible?
Okay, now see here. What is static variable or what is instance variable? Let me note it down here. So instance variables are non-static variable which is defined in a class body, but outside a method. Just it. That's it. This is the definition of a instance variable, which is also known as non-static variable. Instance variables are non-static variable which is defined in a class body but outside a method. Because if you create the variable within a method, that means it is a local variable. So instance variable, or which is also known as sometimes non-static variables, are always created within a class body but outside a method or a constructor or a block. Clear? I'll write it down. Outside a method, block, or constructor. Clear? Not defined, declare. Clear? Okay, guys. And what is a static variable? What is a static variable? Static, just a minute, let me down here. Static variable are declared within the class body outside, but outside a method or a block or a constructor with static keyword. The only difference between non-static and static variable is static keyword. Okay, I will show you the example now. So let's say I have a method public void print value. Okay, print value. Okay, and I'll create a variable int I whose value is 10. Can you tell me what type of variable is this? What type of variable is this? This is an instance variable. This is an instance variable. And if I create a variable with name, let's say int ij is equal to 20. Now, what type of variable is this? This is a static variable. This is a static variable. Fine. This is just a definition, syntax, the difference between the syntax of a static variable and a non-static variable. Instance variable created in a class body. Static variable also created in static class body, but with a static keyword. That's fine. My question to you guys is, what is the difference in the behavior of these two variables? What is the difference between the behavior, the feature of these two variables? Local variable is something different that we have already discussed. These are very important. Static variable and non-static variable. What is the difference between their behavior, their feature? Any idea? Can you tell me? Ashish is saying copies are created for each object for non-static. Okay, what about static? Static variable we can call within call name directly. Okay, within its class name. Only one static variable is defined per object of the class. No, this is not correct. Oh, memory allocation you are talking about. Yeah. Okay. So, acha, I'll do one change here. Static only one copy exists in memory. Correct. So all of you have idea what static and instance variable. Now, in order to show you the example of the difference between the feature and behavior of static and non-static, what I'll do, I'll create the variables within program.cs only because I need the main method to show you the difference, and I can have only one main method. So what I'll do, I'll copy the code, sorry, comment out the code, and I will create those two variables here only. Okay, program.cs. Now I'll show you the difference. First of all, there are many differences. Difference based on memory allocation, difference based on number of copies, difference based on the way of accessing the variable. Okay, so first of all, I will talk about how can you access an instance variable, how can you access a static variable. Okay, can you tell me how should we access a instance variable? How should we access an instance variable? How should we access an instance variable? With object. Always access instance variable with object. By creating object and using the object, you should call that instance variable, because instance variables are object specific. They are object specific. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll create object of this class as a program obj1 is equal to new program. I have created the object and I will say obj1 dot I, and I will run this program. Okay, I should see some of output here. So I'm getting 10 here. Okay, fine. Now what I'll do, I'll create one more object. Now see this program very carefully. This is very important. Now this is very important to understand as well. I will create one more object. Now what I'm doing, I'm saying obj2 dot I equal to 300. And I'm again printing the value. Can you tell me what output you will get at line number 20? What value will you get at line number 20? Array, forget about static variable, guys. Tell me the output here. What output you will get it for line number 20? Just tell me that. 10 or 300? 10. Okay, let me run this program, then we'll discuss it. Second output, can you see second output? You are getting 10 here. Basically, here you are getting 10 as the output. Why? Why not 300? Why you are not getting 300? You are updating the value of INA, then why you are not getting 300? Do we get something like paint in Mac? Achha, I'll do one thing. Now understand it very carefully, guys. This is very important class. That's why I'm telling you. Instance variable are object specific variables. Okay, let it be very clear. Instance variable. Now, object is also known as instance, isn't it? Object are also known as instance, whether you call it as an object or whether you call it as instance, both are same. So instance variable are instance or specific variable, object variable. What I'm trying to say, I'll show you. How many instance variable we have created in this class right now? How many instance variable do we have right now in this class? Only one, variable I. Now, how it will behave? Let me show you. Let's say I create first object. I create first object. Obj1 is that. I'll show you. The first object, well, I'll show you just a minute. The first object is referred by obj1. Obj1 is referring to this object, pointing to this object, isn't it? Yes or no? Yes or no? When I created this object at line number 14, what will happen? A memory allocation will happen to that object. Yes or no, guys? And that object will be referred by this reference variable obj1. Clear? So you can say that this is an object, a memory allocation happened when you created the first object, but this object is referred by obj1. Obj1 is not the object, it's just a reference variable. It is just referring to this object. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt, guys? No. Remember one thing. Before creating this object, you have declared an instance variable I. You have declared an instance variable I. So what will happen? As soon as you start creating the object, it does not matter whether you create one object or 10 object or 100 object. Whenever you will be creating object for this class, in every object, a memory allocation will happen for the instance variable that you have created in that class. Now, right now we have declared only one instance variable. So every time, whenever you will be creating object for program class, in every object, the memory allocation will happen for variable I. So here what will happen? The moment this object will be created, there will be a memory allocation happening for I, and the value will be also stored. So here you can see memory allocation happened for variable I inside this object. Fine, this is clear. When this will happen? This will happen the moment you are creating the first object. This will happen. Again, what you are doing, you are again creating an object, second object. So one more object will be created. So I'll create one more object. Let's say this is second object. Now this second object is referred by which variable, which reference variable? When you are creating the object in line number 17, the second object that you are creating for this class, that will be referred by the reference variable obj2. So let's say this second object is referred by obj2. Clear? Now, the moment the second object will be created, memory allocation will happen for variable I, as I've told you. For every instance variable, this will happen. Again, the initial value will always be the value that you have hard coded. So again, for second object also, the value of variable I is 10 only. Fine. Any doubt till now? Till line number 17, we have created two objects. Memory allocation will happen for those two objects, and copy of variable I will be created inside both of the objects. Clear? Any doubt? No? Yes?
If I create one more object,
Guys, tell
that
me.
same value will
How
be?
will I know if you have any doubt or no?
Hello,
Guys, am I audible?
can you hear me?
Am I audible? Why nobody is saying something? Someone is speaking. Who is speaking?
Yeah, this is Dinesh.
I am only. Guys, if anybody else is trying to speak, just keep yourself mute. Okay. Now is it fine?
Hello.
Dinesh, I'm
Yeah.
not able to hear you. If you're trying to say something, I'm not able to hear you. Sorry. You can
Okay.
mute yourself. You can ping me in your chat, in the chat. Okay. Please mute yourself. Okay. Now, fine. Now, next thing that you are trying to write is obj.I is equal to, this is very important statement to understand. You are saying obj2 dot train. Now, what does this mean? When you are saying obj2 dot I is equal to 300, what does it mean? It means that update the value of I, update the value of I, which is available in the object, which is referred by obj2. Listen to my words very carefully. Update the value of I to 300, which is available inside the object, which is pointed by obj2, which means here basically what we are trying to do, updating the value of I to 300, which is available in second object, which means you are updating this value. This value you are updating from 10 to 300. Clear now? This is clear? Is this clear? Yes or no? Yes or no? This is clear? Okay. So with this line of code where you are saying obj2.I is equal to 300, you are not updating the value of I of all the objects. No, you are just updating the variable I value which is available in second object. But in next line, you are trying to print the value of I which is referred by the object obj1 which is available in first object. Now looking at this diagram, when I write print the value of obj1.I, what does this mean? This means that I'm trying to print the value of variable I which is available in the object which is referred by obj1. So basically you are updating the value of I of the second object, but you are printing the value of I of the first object. So what should be the object when you are printing? Sorry, what should be the output? That's why you are getting 10 because you have not updated the first object variable I value, isn't it? And that's why you are getting 10 here. Is that clear now? Which means for each and every object, a separate copy will be created for the instance variable. Is that clear? Clear? One more thing I will tell you. Instance variables are private property to each and every object. If one object does changes, does any modification to its own instance variable, the other object instance variable will not get affected. There is no fixed memory for instance when there is a fixed memory, guys. Memory is defined based on the data type. For each object, the copy will be created for variable I. So for each object, there will be separate copy of variable I. But each variable will I have 4 bytes of memory in each object. Okay, so memory allocation will happen based on data type of the variable. But what I'm trying to say, in each object, a copy of variable I will be created. Clear? Okay. Now I'll do one more thing. If I say obj2.I, now can you tell me what output you will get here in line number 22? What output will you get in line number 22? Come on, guys, tell me quickly. This is very simple. 300. Exactly, you will get 300. 300. I'll show you the output. Just see the last output, 300. Now this concept is clear. Instance variable concept. For each object, a separate copy will be created of the instance variable for each object. Every object will have a separate copy of instance variables. If one object does changes to its own instance variable, that will not get reflected in the other objects. Is that clear? Simple. Up till now, anybody have any doubt, please ask. No, great. Now what I'll do, I'll talk about this variable j now, static variable. Okay. Till now, let's say I have two objects. Okay. I am saying print obj1 dot j. You are getting error here. What error you are getting? Member program dot j cannot be accessed with an instance reference. Qualify it with a type name instead. Now understand it one thing. In C sharp, you cannot access a static variable using object. In Java, this is possible. In Java, you will not get any error, but in C sharp, they strictly does not allow it. They strictly, restrict it. Now, what they say, what in C sharp is the rule is, you should always access a static variable with class name, because static variable are class variables. Static variables are class property. They does not belong to objects. They does not belongs to objects. Okay, they does not belongs to object. So you cannot access a static variable using object. That is not possible. You should always access a static variable with class name. Clear? Is that clear? Any doubt? Okay, so how should you access it? Very simple. Simply say program.j. That's it. Done. I'll run this program. 20 is getting printed. Very simple. If I want to change the value of j, I'll simply say program.j is equal to, let's say, I'll say 1000. And again I will print the value. So I'll say program dot j. So the updated value will be shown here, printed here. You can see 1000 is getting printed, which means, remember one thing, one single copy of instance variable will be created. Only one copy, because static variable are shared properties. Shared properties. It is a class level property. It is not object specific. Like in instance variable, for every object, the copy will be separate copy will be created for instance variable. But in case of static variable, only one copy will be there. You should call the static variable based on class name, like using class name. And whenever you will be doing update, any change to the static variable, that will be available to the whole class, because it is a shared property. Clear? Any doubt, please ask. Somebody was saying that we cannot update the value of a static variable. That's incorrect statement. We can modify the value of static variable. That is possible. But make sure that you are accessing an instance variable using object, and you are accessing a static variable using class name. Clear? Now, when should we use static variable and when should we use instance variable? Can you tell me? Can anyone tell me when should we use static variable and when should we use instance variable? Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me? Anyone, please. Static when we don't want to create copy. Oh, this is not, I'm talking about practical use. Okay, I'll tell you one thing. Let's say there is a college, and in that college, uh, some admission process is going on. Okay, some admission process is going on. Now, that college has multiple branches. In different cities, they have multiple branches of same college, but they have different branches. One in one city, another city. There are 2, 3 branches. Okay, admission process is going on. Now, when the admission is happening for each and every student, you want to store some value. And what can be those value? Like, let's say the student name, the student mobile number, student father's name, address, and student college name also you want to store in the database. Why college name? Because I have told you that the college have multiple branches. So you want to store the college name as well. Right now, let's say there is only one college. Okay. In future, it might be possible that the college name is updated. College name might change. It can change. Okay. My question here is, should you keep the student name as a static variable or non-static variable? Tell me. Should you keep the student name as a static variable or instance variable? Why static, student? Why static? Why static? We don't want to change name. You have misunderstanding of static variable. Who told you that we use static variable when you don't want to change the value? Did I say something like that? Do we use static? Is there any property that static variable cannot be updated? No. Then why you are saying? Understand one thing. If you make this student name variable as a static, whenever you are updating the student name, for every student that updated name will be coming, isn't it? But every student can have different names. They can have different name, but if you keep student name variable as a static, what will happen? Let's say student 1 came. You stored student name is equal to, let's say, Rahul. Then student 2 came. You mark student name is equal to Sunil. So what will happen? Because student name variable is static, for every student, the same name will be stored, isn't it? Because it's a static property, shared property. Whenever you are updating a static property, the whole object will access the same value. The whole class will have same value. Understood? Now consider students as objects. Consider students as objects. And each student will have different name. It is possible. So because each student can have different name, better is to create the student name as a non-static instance, so that every student will have their separate name. If one student updates his name, the other students will not get updated. Clear? Got it? Mobile number, what it should be, static or non-static? Mobile number variable, mobile number field, it should be static or non-static? Again, non-static, correct. College name, static or non-static? It should be static. College name should be static because for all student, college name is going to be same, isn't it? If let's say in future the college name is getting changed, it should get updated for all the students. Yes or no? It is a common property. Student college name is a shared thing for all the students. It's a common among all the students. So whenever you want to have a value common for all the objects, whenever you want to have a value similar to all the objects, same for all the objects, it should be static. It should be made static. Clear? So that if The value is updating. The updated value is accessible, visible, available for all the objects. Clear? Got it? Clear, guys? Anyway, during Selenium, you will understand the difference practically also. Okay, don't worry about that. Okay, next thing. I'll talk about the constant variables. Constant variable. What is constant variable? Constant variable means a variable whose value is not changed. You cannot change the value of that variable, isn't it? Value cannot change. Constant variable means value cannot change. Okay, can't be changed. Okay, how do we create a constant variable in Java? Any idea? How do we create constant variable in Java? Final keyword, isn't it? Final keyword is used. Okay. Similarly, to make a variable constant, we should use const keyword. Which keyword? Const keyword. This keyword will make a variable constant. I'll show you the example. And what is constant variable? Constant variable means once the variable is created and initialized, you cannot change the value. I'll show you the example. Let's say this is variable int var is equal to 100. Can I update the value of this variable var? Can I update it? Like I'll print the value of this var. I'll print this var. Okay. I'll print this. I'll run this program. 100 is good. Can I change it? Can I update it? Of course I can update it. How? I'll simply say var is equal to 200. And again, I will print this value. So I'll say var. I will run it. 200. Sometimes what happens? We want some value to be constant forever. Sometimes it is required when we create an application during automation as well. Sometimes you would require some variable whose value should be constant always. You should restrict everyone to update the value of that particular variable. How we can do that? Very simple. We can use const keyword const. That's it. Now, the moment you created this variable var as constant using keyword const, this is a constant keyword, constant variable. You cannot update this value. You cannot update the value of var. You cannot modify it. Now you're trying to do it. You're getting a compile time error. What error you're getting? It says the left-hand side of an assignment must be variable property or index. Basically, you cannot modify it. After line number 29, you cannot update the value of variable var. Clear? Clear, guys? Yes, fine. One more thing, very important about constant variables. This is not possible. When you are creating a constant variable, what happened? Just a minute. Just a minute, guys. Coming back to this constant variable. Let's say I declared this variable var as a constant variable, but I did not initialize it. Now, can I do that? Can I do that now? I cannot. Now understand very carefully. You are getting a compile timer. What says a constant field requires a value to be provided. Remember one thing. Whenever you are creating a constant variable, whenever you are declaring a constant variable, at the time of declaration only you must initialize that variable. It is mandatory. Otherwise, you will get compile time error. While declaring a constant variable, it is mandatory to initialize value to that variable. Otherwise, you will get compile time error. Okay. You must initialize a constant variable while declaring it. Is that clear? Is that clear? Simple. There is nothing much to discuss in constant variable. Two things are important. One, constant variable once declared cannot be updated. Constant variable while declaring must be initialized. Clear? Clear, guys? Yes or no? Say something, guys. Yes. One last. Harmeet is asking, does every object have a local copy? Now it depends. Like if I make this constant, I will not be able to modify them. Like every object will have same value. Then there is no practically understand it. If you make an instance variable constant, then you will not be able to modify it. Is there any way? Is there any use of that then? Because why do we create instance variable? We create instance variable because why we want every object to have different value, or every object can have different value. But if you make an instance variable constant, you'll not be able to modify it. Then every object is going to have same value. Then what is the benefit? So practically think about it. Okay. Like if I show you, you can try it at your own. Okay. Primarily, most of the time we create static variable as constant, sometimes local variable. Okay. One more variable we want to cover today, then that will be last topic for today. That is read only. Read only variable. Read. Have you ever heard about read only? I'll tell you. A read only is similar to constant variable, almost similar to constant variable. Okay. Read only is like to make, to create, to make array, yeah, a variable. Read only, use read only keyword. That's it. Read only keyword is there. If you want to make a variable read only, just use read only keyword. Now, what's the difference? What is read only? Read only is almost similar to constant variable. When you create a variable as a read only, you cannot modify the value. You can just read it. You cannot update it. You cannot modify the value. Just like constant variable. The only difference is the only difference is constant variable. You must initialize while declaration. A constant. Here, this is not mandatory in read only. Okay, I'll show you the difference between read only and constant. I'll show you. Let me try. There is only one minor difference. I will tell you that minor difference. Let's say I'm creating a variable int var2 whose value is, let's say, 100. And I want to make it read only. So I'll say read only. That's it. Done. Why we are getting this error? Acha, one thing I forgot. Just a minute. Here I'll say int k is equal to, let's say 400, and I want to make it read only. So I'll say read only. One thing I want to tell you, read only is used like a non-static variable. Like you can make a variable read only whenever when that is created at a class level. Basically, read only is applicable with non-static variables. Okay, but that makes it constant. Read only makes it constant. Now, very rarely, I don't think you will be using read only ever. But point number one, read only is used with non-static variable. And once you have made a non-static variable read only, once you have made the non-static variable read only, you cannot update it. Okay. The difference between constant and read only is that constant variable must be initialized while declaring it. Must, mandatory. But read only is optional. It's not mandatory for a read only variable to be initialized while declaring it. You can initialize it later. But once you have initialized the read only variable, then after that you cannot modify it. And because read only are non-static, you can access read only using object. I'll show you. So I'll create one object for a program class. And I will try to print. So I'll say obj1.k. What value will get printed here? Can you tell me? What value will get printed? Any idea? What value will get printed? I have not assigned any value to k. What value will get printed? In line number 37. Guys, tell me. Last topic for the day. Tell me quickly, guys. Am I audible? Am I audible, guys? Yes. What value will get printed here? I have not assigned any value to this k. What value will get printed? Tell me, don't hesitate. 0. Yes, 0 will get printed. Just see it. Just a minute. 0 is getting printed. No, why 0 is getting printed? This I will cover tomorrow. There is a concept known as default value concept. Default value concept I will cover tomorrow. The thing that I want to show you is, let's show you. Basically, why 0 is getting printed? The default value for int. Basically, int gets default value as 0. That I'll cover tomorrow in detail. Next class. Don't worry about that. Now, let's say I initialize while declaring it. Will I be able to update it? Let me check. obj.k is equal to 500. I'll not be able to do so. I will not be able to do so. Okay, because k is a read only. You cannot write. You can only read the value. You cannot write the value again. Is that clear? You cannot modify the value. Now, if I run, you are getting 100 because I have assigned it 100. Now, once I have initialized, after initialization to any read-only variable, I'll not be able to modify it. Clear? Any doubt, please ask. Any doubt, please ask. When we use read-only variable, when constant. Constant is used mostly with static and local variable. Mostly with static variable. Read-only I have never used practically. Because mostly people will use constant variable. Okay, I'll try to show you example. I'll try, but I'm not sure because practically I've never used read only in C#. Okay, the difference I will tell you: read only is used with non-static or instance variable. Point number one. Constant mandatory to initialize while declaration. Read only, it is not mandatory to initialize while declaration. Only difference. Clear? Okay, so that's for today. Tomorrow I will cover default value concept. I will cover 2D array, and then our oops will get started tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow I will start with oops as well. Clear, guys? So we'll cover oops 2-3 days, and then we'll start with collections. Okay. Okay, guys, we'll meet tomorrow, same time. Assignment I'll ping you in the WhatsApp group. Okay. After let's say a couple of hours, I'll ping the assignments in the WhatsApp group. Okay. So I hope you liked the session. I hope you learned so many new things today. Tomorrow also I'll try to make sure that you learn few new things. Where I can get the code. So I'll push this code to GitHub. I'll share the GitHub link in the WhatsApp group. From there you can download it. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you.